Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit, and I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. Along with company, WifeTF is Tower Wars. Yeah, that might very well be the worst name for a series I've ever come up with. I'm very, very sorry. But Tower Wars is a competitive tower defense game, so I needed somebody to play against. Turns out I've got a tower defense player in the house, so might as well make use of that. So welcome Jen to the show.
Thank you. And you make me sound like I'm some sort of professional tower defense player, and that's really not the case.
Well, you do play a lot of TDs on the iPad, so I felt that it was reasonable to bring you along for this one.
Okay, yeah, just because I play tower defense on the iPad, that makes me pro.
Yeah, it does. It makes you pro.
It really doesn't. You're setting me up to be awesome in this game, and it's just not going to happen.
We shall see. We shall see. Well, competitive tower defense, what's that all about? It's about killing the base. So why don't you click ready, and we'll show folks what Tower Wars is all about. And here we go. It's a fairly pretty looking game, honestly. I've got some of the screen space ambient occlusion off because in the beta, what was happening is that we were getting these really large frame drops, which is not what you'd expect from a tower defense game at all. Now, there's your base. It consists of two buildings, your big castle right there, which of course is the objective. Destroy that and it's game over. And you've also got your barracks facility there, which is going to spawn all of your waves of creeps. Now, in this game, you need to manage your economy. You need to build a bunch of creeps and also build a set of towers. As you can see over this side, the maze is being constructed already by Jen.
I am making my very bad maze. Pathing is interesting in this game.
Yeah, the pathing in this game is curious for one reason, and that's because it's hex-based. You'll notice that all of these hexagons on the floor are where you can place towers. That means that you've got to think about diagonals more often than not.
And if you failed geometry, or any type of math, probably not going to work out too well for you.
Indeed. Now, what you will notice, which is a nice little feature, is that it's going to show you the path of the creeps, and it's also going to tell you if your maze has a better way around. So in that case, I placed one there. The creeps should go to the right, but they won't do that because the shortest way to get to my castle is to actually go to the left. So I want to block that off to make the maze even more effective. Now, I can't block off there, because that will mean that there's no way for the creeps to actually get through it, so it automatically prevents me from doing that. Now the question is, what else do I want to do? Well, I want to continue to extend the maze in this general direction if it's all possible. Make it nice and easy. However, you can't just sit there building towers. No, you cannot, because this game's got two kinds of currency. It's got gold, and it's got battle points. Battle points are required for a variety of different things, including upgrading your mines.
Indeed, and I just sent a wave of creeps, I believe, at the beginning, and I have no battle points, and I'm not trying to understand why I have no battle points.
Did you send them, or were they just queued up?
I could have sworn I sent them.
Hang on, are
Maybe
they?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sending another wave now just to see kind of what happened. I thought, because I queued some up in the beginning thinking, oh, well, I'll go ahead and, rack up some battle points while I'm building my maze, and then I'm like out of gold. I'm like, what's going on? My economy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there. Now, at this point, actually, I think I've actually figured out a way to make this maze more efficient. Even though it is hex-based, it's possible to force them to go into a straight line, and then you can just build lines of them instead.
Congratulations on your line-based maze.
It does the job, it does the job. Now, your basic unit is Mr. Moopsy. You might notice that this game has a little bit of a steampunk theme to it. In fact, I'm going to show you some of the interface. If you have a look at that. Lots of brass. Lots of steampunky Victorian style stuff. Even the names of the units are a little bit odd, to say the least. Mr. Moopsy, Sir Robert von Pretzel, the Zoombot, Boris the Bellowing, whatever the hell that is, because it goes off of the interface. Beta is beta. Baron von Pepto, who is, if I recall correctly, actually a healer. He has a giant Pepto-Bismol bottle on his back.
He is the best healer.
He is the best healer.
He does, like, some sort of proximity heal, I believe.
If I recall correctly, yes, he does. Now, I've earned some battle points by pushing a wave of creeps, so what I'm able to do is spend those battle points on a variety of different things. The most important thing, in my opinion, is to get miners into your mines. Now, you'll notice that the global income rate is currently 3.25. I can have a total of 6 miners. These miners are going to cost me, however. They're going to cost me gold, they're going to cost me battle points. Can't get battle points unless I send creeps. So that's the way that it balances it. It ensures that you can't just sit there building a bunch of towers and then never sending anything, because quite frankly, that would be a little bit boring, wouldn't it?
Or you could play against me, where I do absolutely nothing but try to perfect my maze, but then run out of gold and battle points and then sit here looking like an idiot in front of all of your subscribers.
Send more creeps.
I am trying to, but when you're out of gold, you can't send creeps.
It's okay, you're earning a little bit of gold there. Do you have any battle points to spend on miners?
I have 2, and that's not going to work out very well for me. So my economy is basically a shot in the foot from the word go, all because of that initial wave that I thought was going to give me a battle point advantage and didn't.
Unfortunate.
Very.
Well, whatever the case, the creeps are on their way at the moment, and I think at this stage of the game, like the game is very, very slow to start off with, honestly. And I have to wonder if it's possible to rush something, for instance. Maybe rush the knight, who is a significantly tougher opponent. I'm intrigued to see how this ends up turning out once people really figure the game out, because I think maybe there might be some viable rush builds that force your opponent to build more powerful towers that they really don't want to construct early game.
That would be pretty awesome if the game took that kind of direction to where it got to that point. I think for a lot of people, and maybe even people who play tower defense, I mean, I play tower defense games all the time, and this is kind of difficult for me to figure out like how to balance.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different stuff you have to worry about. I showed you the unit interface before. This allows you to unlock new units with gold and battle points, but that's not all there is. So there are other things you need to concern yourself with. There's this window, for instance. This actually provides a bunch of different upgrades. I can get lighter footwear to increase run speed of my units, increase health of all units, and some of these upgrades are actually very significant. Just to make matters even worse, you can also upgrade your castle, upgrade its ammo capacity, as well as its armor and things like that. And then you've got to concern yourself with the one other thing, which is the idea of constructing additional towers and upgrading those towers up to potentially level 3.
It would take a long time, I feel, like, just in our beginning games to actually get that far. I think the games go on for quite a long period of time before you're able to upgrade things to level 3 and beyond.
Yeah, I can't really figure out as to whether or not the game is too slow-paced or whether it's just because we're playing in a very passive manner.
I think a lot of it's just, for me anyway, I haven't quite figured it all out. So I imagine that if I knew what I was doing, then I would probably take more aggressive, send more aggressive, better compositioned waves.
Possibly, yeah. I think that when people figure it out, they're going to find what's optimal and what isn't. I think with a tower defense game, you've got to be all about min-maxing. Yeah, you should never build too many towers. You should only build just enough towers. And in fact, there's an argument against mazing, I would say, early on in the game, because there's the possibility of creating a very small composition of towers that is enough to knock out these early little guys, maybe using the AoE towers, possibly with a combination of a slowing tower, and then just throw a bunch of units at your opponent to earn a lot of battle points, immediately unlock one of the tougher units, and then send it against your maze of, little crossbows, and it might not be enough to actually kill it.
Yeah, I can completely understand where you're coming from there. I feel that it's like very expensive early on to start completing your maze and ignore sending your creep waves, or even just upgrading some units that have more variety.
Yeah, it's a difficult argument to make. That's the fun thing about upgrades as well. All of the units also have a set of upgrades, so the game's just chock full of those, and it's difficult to know which ones to get at the right time. But again, that's part of the strategy. That's part of what you have to learn. And I think any competitive tower defense game you play is going to be a bit more advanced than what it appears at the start. This looks very simplistic, but if you think about the strategy behind it, perhaps it's a little bit more difficult to do. Now, I'm going to send a wave of somewhat tougher creeps at you and see if it'll actually get through. I'm going to test my theory. Whatever the case, they should get me a lot of battle points, so I can't really complain too much. At the moment, all of your guys are just getting horribly slaughtered going through my basic maze. I don't even want to complete my maze right now. It's like, why would I spend the gold when I can send more units?
I guess this is probably the reason why I'm not a very good, StarCraft player, in a way, because, you think about strategy and you think about building things, and, I play SimCity way too much for my own good, so my maze must be perfect.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the damage that's being done, actually, and, this seems viable. I think maybe if you were to throw in an upgrade, like the speed upgrade, for these guys, I think maybe I could get through that maze.
Really?
Maybe. Obviously, you're limited in the numbers that you can actually throw at your opponent. That's an upgrade you have to get later on. You can increase the size of your waves. You can decrease the cooldown between waves. You'll notice that force, it almost got through. It almost got through. So maybe with some upgrades, it could actually pull that off.
I do have some interface issues, I guess, with this game.
Okay.
It's not exactly easy. Like, if you just happen to click on, like, any of your towers, for example, sometimes you can accidentally upgrade. You can accidentally build in a place that you didn't technically want to build in, which I believe is kind of damaging.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from there, and the reason being that I think they tried to make it nice and slick, and they may have made it just a little bit too slick. So I'll demonstrate what exactly you mean. So if I were to place a tower, like obviously you see this little radial menu, and the first thing people say when they see radial is like, oh, consoles, but whatever the case, what really matters here is that once you click for one tower and you pick your tower, then all you need to do is actually just click again to do that. And then to upgrade, it's just double click, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. A double click will actually upgrade it. In fact, actually, no, a single click does it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that I could definitely see where you come from there. I think that should be changed to a double click so that people don't accidentally upgrade their towers when they just happen to misclick for whatever reason.
It's just kind of bothersome because, you know, you can make so many mistakes.
You can, yeah, and I think that people that enjoy tower defense games are actually perfectionists. You know, they love to perfect their maze, they love to perfect their balance of upgrades and unit composition, and if they're able to make mistakes due to problems with the interface, then they're not going to enjoy that so much.
You know me too well.
Well, I think that's just TD players. You know, that's the attitude of tower defense guys.
It's like we have so much chaos in our actual lives that this is our one chance to make everything perfect.
Exactly. You know, I'm not even going to misuse the term OCD, but you know, I think if you're a compulsionist kind of person that is after perfection, yeah, you'll get a little bit annoyed. I'm coming up with a better unit composition to come get you with now, so...
Please do, because all I'm doing is mazing, and I'm not really paying too much attention to the creep waves I'm sending, which is why my economy is so bad. As I said, this is probably one of the most multitasking tower defense games I've ever played.
Well,
It's nice. It's
yeah.
nice. It's refreshing to actually see a TD game where... you know, things like resources, sending your waves, upgrading everything. I mean, everything can be upgraded. That's insane.
I think this is a reaction to one of the big problems that TD games have had for the longest time, and a bunch of companies have tried to fix that. The idea that TDs are very passive for the player. Like, there's not a lot of actions per minute required, there's a lot of engagement. Once you set your maze up, you kind of just sit there. And in this case, what they've got is, yeah, it's a game that's got so much going on with it that... you've really got to think and be constantly doing something in order to be most effective. Of course, that's going to be rather stressful for some people. I think some people play TDs because they're actually relaxed. And I don't know, this game certainly isn't.
I get stressed out by this game, and I'm not sure if I like that or not.
Well, I've sent a more rapid wave. I put a bunch of upgrades behind this wave, as well as one little guy. What does he go by? Yes, Boris the Bellowing Bard is at the back of that composition, and he is pushing my guys forward at a faster pace, and I think he's just been sniped off. I think maybe I need a few more Boris the Bellowing Bards in my composition.
By all means, bring them on.
Indeed. Your maze is currently resisting my efforts, but it's fine, because I'm building up a metric ton of battle points in the process.
And this is still a messed up maze. Like, there is no way that this is anywhere near as perfect. It should have wrapped around the entire bottom portion and then wrapped around again. And you're actually going to probably make it to my base.
Oh, wow, okay, right. Well, in that case, I'm thinking I need to upgrade more, and you need to focus more on getting a proper tower composition, not just your maze. This is the point where you need to be selling towers and starting to replace them.
Of course.
Thankfully, the base also has guns of its own, which you can upgrade, so I'm not going to be doing too much damage with these basic units here.
You would be surprised. I think you're still going to beat on me pretty well, because I haven't upgraded anything on on my actual
Yeah,
base.
I'll put a little bit of a dent in it, no doubt. I'm looking at all of the delicious upgrades I can now get. I think I rushed Battle Awareness, which gives you... It increases your battle points by 30%, so that pays for itself pretty well. And then what I'm going to do is increase my run speed, upgrade that, and shields. There we go. So that's a metric ton of stuff. And now I'm going to try that wave again. And this time, it's going to be even more powerful. I think it's time that you start upgrading them towers, because otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Boris the Bellowing Bard rides again.
That sounds like a really bad movie.
It does, quite frankly. So does Tower Wars, actually. Tower Wars sounds like a terrible movie.
So what level
really
are
bad title.
what level are your mines upgraded to? Actually, I can see what you're upgraded to. So you're still on only level 1 mines?
Yes, I'm only on level 1 mines. I only just upgraded one of them to level 2. The thing about upgrading is, I think anyone that's played Wintermore Wars is very familiar with this concept. The concept of only upgrading at the right time. Because if you don't upgrade at the right time, you end up in a sticky situation where you can't actually afford to purchase the miners. Tower Wars kind of lets you off with that just a little bit, because when you upgrade, it still keeps the same income rate. So it's like, okay, I've sunk 500, but I might not be able to buy more miners. As you see, I've just filled up one of my mines to level 2 there. Boris the Bellowing Bard is doing fairly well at this point, by the looks of it. I upgraded speed shield. Oh no, Boris, why? Why, Boris? Ah, now finally deploying some AoE by the looks of it, but it looks like these guys are gonna make their way through. You definitely need to send more creeps, I think, because I think what's happening with you at the moment is that your upgrade count is so low as a result of not sending enough creep waves that you don't have the necessary... Well, you just don't have the clout to actually make it through.
Really don't.
I barely have a maze because I know that your guys aren't very well upgraded, so I don't need to maze. I don't need any towers.
And so, that's the whole thing. I mean, it really kind of depends on what kind of player you are, I think, as to how successful you will be in this game. If you're like me and you're completely OCD and everything must be perfect, you're not gonna do well with this.
I think you're gonna fail. I don't think your actions per minute are gonna be high enough. You're not gonna be doing enough stuff.
I'm sorry, but your APM is
APM, mad APM. It's a tower defense game, so APM shouldn't really matter, but it actually kind of does here. Yeah.
It really does in this game, and it's so unusual that that's a thing. That it shouldn't even be a thing, but it's a thing.
Well, it's good that it is a thing, though, because I have a feeling that TDs are in this weird spot right now where they're all very, very similar. And you can definitely see the generic here, too, as well. But what I see is actually a really nicely balanced game. And they understand the problems the tower defense games have, and they've made an effort towards actually trying to fix them.
I think that these games have the potential to go on for a long time, especially if you're bad.
I'm trying to figure out what this button is. There's
the one with the exclamation point
what
that
is that?
Lights a thing. I have not figured that out either, actually.
No.
I do not know. I wish that I did.
Yeah, I've not got a clue. Alright, I've just unlocked myself an even beastier unit. That cost a fortune, wow. You'll notice that some of the units actually take up more space in your loadout. And you can queue everything up, and then you've got a timer. Once that timer reaches 0, you're able to launch. I'm not playing it perfectly right now. I think I could be launching a lot more creep waves. Speaking of creep waves, here come your fellows. They should be easily slaughtered.
They will be very easily slaughtered. I'm just looking for battle points right now. Because I need to be able to upgrade, and that's not going to happen without them.
No, it is not. It's so integral to your economy as well, because if you don't have battle points, you can't even get miners, let alone upgrade your mines. So the question is, what do? Do you overcommit to upgrading mines and then sacrifice everything else? I mean, how does that end up working out for you?
It didn't work out very well for me. All of my mines have, I mean, they're not upgraded, but they at least have all of the miners, on them, all level 1. And each miner costs battle points as well. So
yes.
If you don't send waves of creeps, then I mean, it's just not gonna work out. You're not gonna have a good time.
No, you are not indeed gonna have a good time. But I like that though. I like that the different kinds of play styles, they all sort of seem viable and make a bit of sense, but you've still got to adapt to the way the game wants you to play it. You've got to balance all of those play styles out and come up with something that actually works.
Your waves are getting progressively scarier.
Well, I sent a bunch of little Mr. Moopsies, but then I also sent Stanley Clunkerbottom, who it turns out is kind of hard to deal with. Those guys are expensive, though. Like, it costs 492 gold to send even one of them.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. They're good for tanking, though. If you've got a lot of towers that kind of front load the damage, then this guy at the front of a wave will tank a lot of that. That's actually something else to consider as well. The order in which you send stuff as part of your composition. It can make a difference. I mean, in the case of your maze, obviously it's not going to make too much of a difference, but if you have a lot of high damage towers at the front, for instance, you can soak up a lot of that damage, and then your faster moving guys can get past.
Yeah, and I don't really get to that point of thinking right now with this game, and it's just because, you know, again, I are noob, but I can totally see, you know, why that would help. That helps so much in so many other tower defense games that I can think of off the top of my head.
That's very, very true. I'm going to try and queue up a big wave of Stanley Clunkerbottoms in order to get through it. At the minute, what am I doing? I am just sending Mr. Moopsies right now, but they're also shielded and fairly well upgraded, so even Mr. Moopsies survive a little bit longer than you might expect.
I do actually like very much the different types of towers that you can have. I think it's well thought out, just the variety. There's so many different combinations that you could really go with.
I think they've actually gone with like less is more on this one, because I don't think there's no tower here that surprises me anyway, except maybe the Cyclonic Momentum Decelerator. They've all got crazy names, by the way. I love the style of this. One might have a generic game. This is anything but. The Propelled Arrow Dispensary is the arrow tower. The Ballistic Impulsion Facilitator. The Voltiac Liberation Apparatus. It's like, you know, this is actually really funny. One of them, the Cyclonic Momentum Decelerator, is kind of weird, like, because you've got to point it in a specific direction. So, like, I'll show it on the screen right now. You can actually rotate the tower, and I haven't quite figured this one out yet, honestly. I think that for that, like, maybe you can design your maze so that you can have one of those at the end, and maybe if I were to get, let's just kind of demonstrate this. If I were to sell off this one here, and then I could put my Cyclonic Momentum Decelerator right there. So that's going to be blowing in that direction. And while the maze is slightly shorter, I actually get a better effect because this wind tower here is blowing down there.
That is slightly crazy.
It is indeed. Graphically, this game's actually really pretty as well. There's like a lot of depth of field effects you're probably noticing here. There's some nice particle effects and distortions. But in the beta, we had some frame rate problems. That seems to be fixed, removing a lot of the screen space ambient occlusion. Having a hardcore tower defense game that actually looks good, that's fairly unusual.
I also feel like there's some, and maybe it's just me, and I know we talked about this before, but there seems to be like some sort of mouse lag. Like I feel the mouse.
Oh really? Actually, yes,
me.
yes, I feel that too. That's kind of a big deal because I feel that doesn't help with precision.
It doesn't. Like I want to put towers in certain hexes, and that's not working out for me so well when my mouse is not hovering exactly where it needs to be hovering.
Yes.
I could be doing this so much quicker. Otherwise, and I noticed that you're beating up on my base right now. I might actually lose this.
It's a possibility.
one.
We might have to play another game after that and see if we can maybe improve your build order a little bit.
My build order. I'm sorry. A tower defense game that has a build order. That's
No, I mean,
so cute. No, I know, but it's just it's something that you just don't really expect to hear too much of, you know.
Well, I think if you played a lot of TDs back in the Warcraft 3 days when they made a lot of competitive tower defense games, as I said, basically Wintermore was, as far as I'm aware, the most popular, but then there were about 5,000 other ones like that. Then I think you probably realize that, yeah, build order is actually quite important.
Maybe it's just because so many TDs are, I don't know, friendly, you know.
It's because of iOS, you know?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's the curse of iOS, and probably even, I haven't played a lot on Android too much. I mean, I had an Android before I ever had an iOS device, but I have not played any TDs on any type of Android, so I can't speak to that, but yeah. I think the iOS probably has damaged the TD aspect of games.
Behold, the Equine Subterfuge Transport, i.e. Trojan Horse. Unfortunately, it isn't working out so well. You actually have quite a lot of weapons there.
I do.
Yeah, build up. And you may have also noticed a couple of frame drops there. As I said, in the beta, it's a tower defense game that actually brings a 680 to its knees. I really think they need to optimize this. They really do. It's like, your game looks okay, it's not that okay. You know, we don't need a super mega looking kind of thing. I really want to unlock Mortimer the Malevolent. I really do. He's the endgame unit by the looks of it. Also, where the hell did the music go? Did the music just end for you?
Yes, the music did end for me. That was kind of weird.
That's disturbing. I don't like that.
It's like it's quiet. It's too quiet.
It is actually too quiet. I want their one music track to loop around again. That would be good.
It's happy, but at the same time sounds like bad things are going to go down, and it's very true.
I would believe so. I need to have a look at my upgrades, because I want to increase the number of... There we go. Bigger barracks is what I need. But in order to get there, I'm going to have to unlock that. There we go. Increase the number of queue slots. Excellent. I've upgraded my Mr. Moopsies. Prepare to die.
I am preparing to die. My castle, I guess... Is it a castle or is it just a fortress? I don't know. It looks like a broken down castle.
I don't know one way or the other. It seems like it's got a lot of trees on the top of it. It's like, this doesn't seem optimal at all.
It's a busted down castle.
It's covered in ivy.
It is.
And a horrible thing that is. I don't think that's tactically sound.
But my health is very low, so it will not take very much to kill.
Indeed. Yeah, your units unfortunately can't even get past my level 1.
That's because they're still not upgraded.
Yeah.
I spent more money on miners, like I upgraded an entire mine, and I should not have done that. It's so unusual when you're not used to having to take into account for economy on two separate sections. You know, battle points plus gold.
Yeah, that's good actually, though.
It's good. I like that it's different.
Yes, absolutely.
But when every miner costs 60 battle points. Ugh.
Certainly at that level, yeah, because at that point you're thinking, oh, but I want miners, but I also want upgrades, but oh, where do I draw the line?
I'm now sending a huge wave of Mr. Moopsies in order to obtain more battle points.
Okay, that's totally fine by me. You have got a fairly upgraded defense. I'm going to have to come up with something a little bit clever in order to break through that. In fact, I'm half tempted.
Really?
It's all right. That's why I'm sending 3 Stanley Clanker Bottoms in your general direction.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to put a bard on the end of that, but I don't have quite enough research points. I think I need 1 more point in bigger barracks, then I could put a bard on the end of it. What you can also do is reduce the launch cooldown, and also you can put additional forces. That seems like a really awesome upgrade. Additional forces gives you random units on the end of every wave you send, which is pretty sick.
That does sound pretty sick.
You know what I'd also like, actually? The ability to clone a wave. Like, it's a lot of clicking involved here, or maybe just the ability to hold the button down, and then that would allow me to fill up a wave, because I feel like I have to click a little bit too much in order to get a complete wave of what I want, especially if I'm sending a bunch of little units.
Right, like, I don't even know how many the max is. Those are tiny little squares down there, but like 20 Mr. Moopsies, for example.
This is interesting, actually. The interface is a bit awkward. It doesn't really explain itself very well, but apparently you seem to be able to... Oh, hello. What the hell? I think I can go back through my previous slides. You can duplicate. There's a little set of arrows down the bottom. Yeah?
Oh, I see that.
I think that allows you to duplicate some of your waves. Right, that's sweet.
That would have been so helpful for me in the beginning when I was trying to figure out if I actually sent that wave or not.
Yeah, well, this is the problem with the beta, is that it explains itself really badly.
It does.
We're discovering all this new stuff all the time, which is really nice. There's also a tiny little button I can barely see over there, which allows you to reset everything. And we still don't know what this does.
It like lights up, and I don't understand.
Does it...
I'm gonna click it. I'm gonna leave it on just to see if perhaps...
I don't even know. I have no idea what that is. It could be for the multiplayer, because this game you can actually go, I think, up to 3-on-3. So it might be for notifying the players on your team of something unpleasant coming in their general direction. That might be what it is.
I like the fact that the game is so different. Yes, and I love that text. Intricacy gets nailed by Totalbiscuit.
A bloody good smashing success. Keep it up, lads. What? Yes. There you go. That's what Tower Wars is, and it's actually kind of cool. As I said, generic title, really interesting tower defense game. Pretty cool competitive stuff going on. The beta's currently occurring over on Steam at the moment. Go check out the website. We'll put the link in the description below this video. I want to play more of that. That's cool. That's very enjoyable. Admittedly, the beta is very buggy right now and is very bad at explaining itself. But I think maybe if they improved the UI a little bit and just tightened up some of the concepts and made it more obvious to people what they actually need to do, then I think people would have a bloody good time with this one, quite frankly.
I agree. There's so many different. The single player is different from the multiplayer. Or the versus,
that's actually something
I
didn't show. I should probably have a look at that. You got classic TD. There's a bunch of tower defense challenges, and then you've got this competitive online mode. The classic TD is what you would expect. The online mode, I think, is where it's at the moment.
Yeah, and the classic TD does absolutely zero to prepare you because the units aren't the same.
No.
At all.
Yeah, it doesn't really do a lot to actually prepare you there at all.
Yeah, as far as TD goes, I really enjoy the idea of this game. I like that there are different elements to it that I'm not experiencing in a traditional, I guess. I don't know if you can really say traditional.
Yeah, it's odd because I think it just has its root back in the Warcraft 3 era, as I was saying. Because I don't think many of these ideas haven't been done, but I haven't seen a game that's combined them all and done so in a way that actually works well.
And I think this game would also be very, very well received on iOS, to be honest, because it is just touch mechanics. I mean, I don't see why this.
You could play it on iOS, yes.
Maybe the map would be a little bit. I don't know how. Yeah, because the map is quite big. The amount of text spaces is
maybe you couldn't
large.
Zoom out enough, yeah, because you do need quite a large screen to see everything that's going on. So maybe that might cause a few problems. Plus, I could just see myself accidentally trying to drag across the screen and then accidentally building towers everywhere. It's like, no, don't do that.
But you already do that in the game. You already build towers accidentally because mouse lag but these are things that can be tightened up over the course of time. But
indeed.
I don't know. I feel like it's a very refreshing approach to a TD for those of us who have been spoiled by iOS TD.
It's better than iOS TD.
It is definitely better than iOS.
It's a PC TD, and it feels like it as well. And I love the competitive nature of it. Like I say,
playing TD.
That's just going to get confusing. Let's not go there anymore.
Let's not.
Worth keeping an eye out, folks, as far as I'm concerned. Tower Wars, currently in beta over on Steam. Check out the website for more information. My name has been Totalbiscuit.
My name has been Mrs. Biscuit.
I'll see you next time.